Hi everybody. This is going to be a tutorial about knitting. It's my first knit tutorial, so we'll see how this goes. Basically what we're going to be showing you is knitting every row, which is garter stitch, and then we're going to do a yarn over and knit two together. It gives you it's like a beginner's lace, but I do have a friend of mine, Darlene. She's the one that made me Olaf, and she's making a shawl, so I suggested to do yarn over and two together. So I told her I would do a tutorial. So bear with me, my first knitting tutorial. We are in a new area for doing my tutorials, so it's going to be a work in progress in getting this set up like my old area. So adjust my lighting here a little bit. There, my new art light, I love it. Okay, so I've made my slip knot. I've got it on my needle. Make your finger like a slingshot. And you go under the loop on your thumb, around the loop on your finger, and then between the loop on your thumb, and pull. There's one stitch. So we'll try that again. We're going to go under the loop on your thumb, around the loop on your pointer finger, and then between the loop on your thumb, and pull. See, there's your stitches on there, 3 stitches. That's your slip knot, and there's your 2 stitches. I'll do one more with you, and then I'm going to cast them on quickly so we can go on to the tutorial. So we're going to do it one more time. Under the loop on your thumb, around the loop on your pointer finger, in between the loop on your thumb, and pull. Now try not to make your stitches too loose so your needle turns. It makes it a little bit difficult. Now these ones here are sharp, pointy enough that they go through, but not pointy enough that they leave a hole in my finger. So I'm just going to cast on some stitches here. Just do a small sample to show you how we're going to do the garter stitch, i.e. knit every row, and the yarn overs and knit 2 together. Again, working around the camera, and I don't have it elevated like I do in other videos because I don't have the table set up with the elevation yet. Still working on an overhead setup. Work in progress. Work in progress. Isn't that always the case? We're always a work in progress. Okay, let's see how many stitches I have here. I need an even amount of stitches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 stitches. Okay, we got 14 stitches. That's even. So we're going to do the knit stitch. I tuck my working yarn, okay, to my right. I tuck my tail back here so it doesn't get in the way, so I don't mistakenly start knitting with my tail, which I've done. I'm sure everybody's done it at one time or another. So I just kind of move my stitches out towards the end of my needle there. And to do a knit stitch, you're going to go from front to back. So find your hole, you go front to back, then you're going to take your yarn and you're going to counter clockwise, wrap your yarn, and you're going to slide your needle under and pull it off. That's your knit stitch. Front to back, wrap counterclockwise, bring your yarn underneath like that, slip it off. Now I'm knitting English style. There is continental style. There is flicking. There's different combinations and types of knitting. I do some continental, but I figured this will be easier for me just to show you the English style. Now I am not a thrower. Throwing is where you drop your needle, wrap it around that way. I'm kind of a combination of a flicker and thrower. front to back, counterclockwise, wrap your yarn, and go on. So I'm going to finish knitting this row, and then we'll do a couple rows of knit, and then we will start doing the yarn over, knit 2 together. Now, this first row is knit. Now, if you're watching this, I am going to assume that you have the basics of knitting, at least know how to knit and purl, cast on, bind off. But just in case, this is a knit stitch, and I'm going to finish these last few stitches, and I'm going to show you what a knit stitch looks like. Now, this is called reading your knitting, and this is stuff that all comes with time. Like I said, I'm more into learning the technical side of things. Okay. Oops, drop a stitch, see? Drop a stitch, drop a stitch. It's kind of hard to read this here. So, we'll just turn, okay, we're going to turn your work, and you're going to knit this row too. Just turn and knit. So we're going to front to back. The stitch is tight. We're going to go front to back. Oh, it's worse. It's harder than crocheting. Trying to look through the viewfinder. And then we're just going to run this down, and then I'm going to show you yarn over and knit 2 together. And what that does is you do the yarn over, that'd be like increasing a stitch. But by doing knit 2 together, you're maintaining your stitch count. And it lends for some interest to your pattern if you're just doing like a basic triangle shawl with all knitting, which is garter stitch. And I want to show you what it looks like. This is knitting every row. Okay? And what you're going to see is purl bumps. Okay? That's knitting every row. If you turn this here, it looks the same way. But if you look in between, right here, let me get a little pin here. I can use it for a pointer, make it easier for you to see. If you look between these, this is a purl bump. But if you look here, you will see the legs of your V. That is your knit stitch. Okay, so I'm going to pause this here, and I'm going to knit up, a few rows, and then I'll be back and we'll do the yarn overs and knit 2 together. Okay, I went ahead, and what I did was I knit my rows up. I did a row of the yarn over, knit 2 together. I did 3 more rows of knit, and then I did another row of yarn over, knit 2 together, and then I knit a few more rows. Now, as I told you, the yarn over increases by 1, and the knit 2 together decreases by 1, which I should have 14 stitches, which is what I started out with. Let's just double check that. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. I just wanted to work that up so you can see what it looks like. And like I said, it can be your first, dip into lace work. And this is a very simple type of lace work, and you can use this in your shawl, blanket, whatever. And you can vary the amount of yarn overs. In other words, I'm going to show you the stitch, but I'm just going to give you just a few little things that you can do different with it. You can say knit 4, yarn over, knit 2 together, knit 4, yarn over, knit 2 together, and do it that way so it would spread your eyelets out. And any variation of that. I start with a knit stitch and I end with a knit stitch. Even stitches. Okay, so now let's let's get, as they say, let's get down to the nitty gritty. The first stitch, you're going to knit it. So we're going to front to back, counterclockwise wrap, come underneath, pull it off. Okay. Now, you're going to do a wrap, a yarn over. This is a yarn over. Yarn over is counter wrap, okay? Now, the knit stitch, you're coming from behind. So to do two together, find your next two stitches, kind of scooch them up together, and you're going to put your needle through both stitches as if to knit. There you go. So if you look, I got both stitches on the needle, okay? And I yarned over. Now I yarned over that, brought my yarn to the front, right, for like a purl stitch, but you're going to yarn over, and you're going to keep your yarn to the back because you're doing a knit stitch. You're going to counterclockwise wrap, and you're going to come under two together. See, I reduced it, but I still have 3 stitches. Let's do that again. You're going to take your yarn, counterclockwise wrap it. Now we're going to knit 2 together. Take your needle front to back, go through both stitches to knit. Here's both my stitches. Counterclockwise, wrap it. I sometimes use my fingers to push, and then pull it off. And then you counterclockwise wrap it, front to back, go through both stitches, counterclockwise wrap, knitting the 2 together. Now I will tell you, sometimes when people are doing yarn overs, whether it be a knit or a purl, they seem to get an extra stitch. And I'm not going to confuse you by getting into a yarn over with a purl stitch. We're just doing knit stitch yarn overs. They'll yarn over like this, and they somehow forget, and this working yarn, they'll do like this, and they'll put their yarn to the back without thinking, and when they ended up coming around to do their knit stitch, they end up with an extra stitch up on here. So just hold your yarn over, hold your yarn to the back on your finger, come here front to back through both loops, both stitches, counterclockwise wrap, underneath, take your stitch off, counterclockwise, yarn over, do both stitches. No stitch a little too. That's why I say you don't make your stitch too tight when you're working lace. Counterclockwise wrap. Take your 2 stitches. We've got one more to do. Counterclockwise wrap. Knit through both stitches. And your last stitch. It's split on me. Sometimes if your yarn splits on you, all you gotta do is pick it up like this and pull at the end of your needle and off. And your last stitch is just a plain knit stitch. Okay? And you can see it doesn't show real well when you first do it, but when it does really start to pop is the next row we do. Now the next row, all we're going to do is knit. So let's knit our stitches. And we'll just knit. I'm not going to go off camera for this. Now, okay, knitting your yarn overs. See this? This here is your yarn over, right here. Okay? You're going to, just as if it was a regular stitch, you're going to go front to back under your yarn over. Okay? But hold the stitch so it doesn't slide off. And then you're just going to, just a normal knit stitch, and you're knitting your yarn over. That's where you're going to see your eyelet come in. Okay? That's our 2 we knit together. Now we're going to come up on another yarn over. See? Front to back. Hold on to your stitch so it doesn't slide off. counterclockwise yarn over, and then this here was your 2 stitches you knit together. Coming up another yarn over, hold your stitch, counterclockwise off. It'll seem loose, but that's how your eyelet comes up. That's where you get the the eyelet at. You see how loose it is? When you do this, it'll lock the stitch in, and then you get your eyelet. So once we get this last few stitches done, we'll look at our work. Okay, one more wrap, and then we got the last knit stitch. Okay, let's see our work. Pull your yarn over there. See? And there is your eyelets. By doing that last knit stitch, you're kind of making yourself your border on here. But that's a yarn over with knit 2 together. You don't lose your stitch count. The increase of the yarn over, the 2 together, decreases it, maintaining your stitch count. And this is for somebody that just wants to make a triangular shawl, rectangular wrap, just to practice their knitting, or a small baby blanket. And you just knit, 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 knit across, turn, knit across, turn, knit across. I mean, all you're doing is knit. It's like doing a sweater in the round, and you're doing stockinette for 10 or 12 inches. It gets monotonous, but it's good practice if you're just learning how to knit. It's good practice. You get that muscle memory. And this here just throws in a little bit of interest. It gives you a little introduction to, some simplistic lace work. And the next row I'm going to show you, we'll change it up just a hair. Okay, I don't want to make this too long of a video for you, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what, a yarn over with knit 2 together looks like. So we did our knit row. So now we're going to come here and we're going to change it up just a little bit. Okay, we're going to knit 3 before we do our yarn over. So we're going to knit 3. So there's 1, 2, oops, split my yarn, 2, 3. Now we're going to yarn over. There's my yarn over, and we're going to do 2 together. Okay, we're going to knit 3 again. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're going to do a yarn over. Knit 2 together. This knitting 2 together is just maintaining your stitch count. It basically cancels out your increase of a yarn over. Knit 2 together. And then we're just going to knit the last 4. And then I want you to go across, turn your work, and knit back across, and then we'll see what the difference is by doing knit 3, yarn over, knit 2 together, knit 3. But just to show you that we didn't lose a stitch, there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. We are still at our original stitch count of 14. So now we're just going to go ahead and knit back across, and then we'll see what this looks like, just changing it up with a knit 3. Let me see if we can get some yarn here. Okay. Knit 3. Okay, so now we're just going to knit across. Just go ahead, knit across. And I'm using my bamboo needles because they're not as noisy as my options. They're a little clicky because they're nickel. I like working with bamboo as well as my metal ones. They have their uses. Bamboo has a little bit of a grip to it, so it's good for like silk and slippy yarns. Okay, 2 more stitches. And then we can see what our pattern looks like now with knit 3, yarn over, knit 2 together. Okay. By changing up how many stitches we did before we did the yarn over 2 together. If you look, there's, well, it's not really pronounced, but you only have these two right here, these two eyelets, and that was, well, basically you knit 4, you yarned over, knit 2 together, knit 3, yarn over, knit 2 together, and then you knit 4. So you have 2 eyelets in the middle of this. So see, that's one way you can change it up, going all the way up your pattern. If you look there, you can see you did another row of knit, it would show up better. But that's basically all there is to it. That is a yarn over with the knit 2 together. So I hope this tutorial helped you. Please let me know in the comments if it was easy to understand and it was easy for you to see what I was doing. Like I said, this is my first knit tutorial, and it was just basically a stitch. I think I'll just stick with doing stitches or techniques right now for knitting, and if you'd like to see any more particular techniques or stitches, if I'm able to, I will try and do a tutorial for you. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, as everybody always says. But no, I appreciate it. Everybody have a great day, and I will see you next video. Bye for now.